The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Window World of Western Mass, a local family business with experienced craftsmen offering wood, vinyl, and composite windows. WindowWorldofWesternMA.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the Handle Factory Community Clay Studio in Shelburne Falls, offering summer youth clay and art camps and classes for adults. Learn more at handlefactory.com.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, we explore the light and dark and shifting perspectives in Felipe Sales' new album, Camera Obscura, and tell you where you can see it performed live.
We'll also eat our way through the pick-your-own fields at Dickinson's Farm in Granby and hear how one of the area's most anticipated crops is doing this year with farmer Nate LaFlamme.
But here in our city of firsts, there's quite a bit of art that you can see just walking through the city.
And it's the season where Commonwealth Murals adds to their number.
This Thursday is the newest federal holiday of Juneteenth, and if you're looking for something exciting to do to celebrate Juneteenth, you can join Commonwealth Murals for a Juneteenth-inspired journey through Springfield streets as we celebrate community, history, and creativity through public art.
Hop aboard a vintage double-decker bus for a free one-hour tour showcasing 20 powerful murals created with and for the community. From honoring local heroes to amplifying voices that have been historically silenced, these murals tell stories that reflect the heart of Springfield and the spirit of Juneteenth.
And joining us from Commonwealth Murals is our friend Britt Rue.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm always happy to be here.
We're always happy to have you because it means that there's either new art or really cool art that we can go out into the public and see.
Yeah, and maybe you remember Britt Rue coming on talking about the Nelson Stevens murals that have been all over Springfield, which I'm sure will be a big part of this tour. But before we launch into what is coming in the future, quick back sell and shameless plug for my town. You have been with Commonwealth Murals putting up wheat paste murals all over Turner's Falls, Great Falls, including on one of my favorite two Polish bars in town, the St. Casimir Society on Avenue A. Talk about what a wheat paste mural is and how this all came about in Turner's.
Well, that was the brainchild of Suzanne Lamato and River Culture.
Which is the artistic arm of this town of Montague.
So she decided she had a grant for temporary art, and so she recruited 3 artists, and they designed 6 murals and got all this amazing community input, and we put them up using wheat paste, so they're printed on paper, and the glue is made of cornstarch and water. And so they go up and they're meant to last for a couple months, and they're all gorgeous. But that's it. So you got to see them while they're there.
Yeah, and it was fun watching them go up around town. And it turns out you were there on St. Kaz's lift there doing it. I should have stopped and lent a brush or something like that.
I'm offended you didn't.
As you should be.
And there are a couple in Millers Falls and a couple more around the downtown area, right?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's fun about wheat pasting as opposed to painting directly on walls?
Well, wheat pasting has a whole history associated a lot with protest posters, and it's a whole other sub-genre of unsanctioned street art. So it was fun for me to get back into it. But I think wheat paste murals are fun. They go up fast, and there's something exciting about it being ephemeral. And those had so much input from the community and really reflect the neighborhoods. And it's like 1 minute they're not there, and then the next minute they are. And then a couple minutes later or a couple months later, they're not there anymore. So I don't know, something about it feels fun.
And I can't tell you to become a member of St. Casimir Society, but it is open to everyone, and it's a good time. Meanwhile, in your town, Khalees, this Thursday.
I know. It's exciting. So all of the elements of this are cool. It's a double-decker bus. You get to go and see murals. How did you pick which murals to see in Springfield for Juneteenth?
So we are focusing on the murals in Mason Square and downtown that really explore the hopes, histories, and heroes of the Black community of Springfield. And there's just so much to learn, and the art is so beautiful. These tours are going to be super fun, a little shorter than we normally do, so it'll be an hour. You can just hop on the bus, learn so much, and really just spend an hour celebrating community.
The name of your organization, Britt Rue, Commonwealth Murals, basically says it all. But if people aren't familiar with it, talk about how these murals come to be, how they're funded, and which communities like Springfield have availed themselves to these murals.
So the name is actually Common Space Wealth.
Because you don't want to get sued by the state of Massachusetts?
Well, you know, I think that would maybe be a badge of honor at some point, but that was not the goal. But it was the play on words and this idea that public art is our common wealth that we share, and also we build wealth in public art communally in Commonwealth Murals. So most of our murals, the themes are guided by input from the community. And then whenever we can, we use a method of painting them so that we do the whole mural as a giant paint by numbers and bring it out into the community, and hundreds of people can help paint. And then the artists do all the technical detail work and glue it up permanently, unlike the wheat-based murals, permanently on the wall. So many of the murals that we're going to see were done with people in the neighborhood, and hopefully people on the bus will be some of the people that help paint them.
We mentioned the Nelson Stevens murals, who was a famous muralist who was based out of UMass Amherst and had a major presence in Springfield. And you and Commonwealth Murals have revived some of those murals. Which Nelson Stevens murals are on this Juneteenth tour on Thursday?
So Nelson Stevens lived in Springfield in Mason Square for 30 years. He painted 4 murals in Springfield. They all got lost to time. The city intentionally painted over one called Tribute to Black Women, which we're going to see on the tour. And then we're also going to see the Wall of Black Music, and the newest one, which we did last summer, The Old, the Young, the Beautiful. And which makes Springfield the only place in the world that has a collection of Afro-Cobra murals.
And Afro-Cobra, the collective that Nelson Stevens and others were a part of, that is still continuing to this day, right?
Yes, one of the longest running artist collectives in the world, and it was formed in 1968 to create an aesthetic around the Black Power movement.
I know that this particular tour is focusing on murals that highlight and uplift the Black community, but how many murals are there in Springfield total?
There are about 80. I just have to keep counting and thinking, like, how did we manage to do that? A lot of them now are inside schools. We've been working with the Springfield Public Schools and Springfield students for the past couple years and have done about 20 murals with them, which has been amazing.
Tell us about some of the other things that we'll see on this Juneteenth tour. What other murals will we see that focus on the Black community of Springfield?
Well, the newest mural that went up was not officially a Commonwealth Murals project, but was done by an artist, local artist, Richard Johnson, that we trained a couple of years ago. He actually worked on the first Nelson Stevens murals, but it's a tribute to Malcolm X, who came to Springfield many times in the late 50s and helped form Mosque 13. The original site burned down, but then they reformed it, and so this mural is on the side of Mosque 13. So we're going to see that one. We'll see the amazing tribute to Ruth Carter.
Yes!
I know.
Ruth Carter, the Oscar-winning costumer from Springfield, Massachusetts, and that's a pretty new mural, too.
That one's right down the street from my house.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually haven't seen that one with my own eyes yet. I want to get on this. I should go and see this
It's
one.
huge.
I've seen the real Ruth Carter with my own eyes.
Okay, well, that's good. And the real Ruth Carter designed this mural herself. There are other murals of Ruth Carter out there in the world, but there are no murals in the world except for here in Springfield designed by Miss Carter herself.
And some of her elements of costuming appear in that mural, right?
Yes, many of them, including sketches from her original sketchbooks as she was developing ideas for her costumes.
Just in case you were inspired by all her work in Sinners.
Yes, Sinners is her latest one that she's going to win an Oscar for, probably.
I mean,
Could happen.
3 times the charm.
Yeah, there's more wall on that building, so we could add another Oscar on it.
And then I see that on the promo for your event, the Juneteenth Mural Tour, which is happening on Juneteenth this Thursday at 4 and then again at 5:30, there are the Worthington Street murals. Can you talk about those?
The one that's on that flyer is called The Artist, and it was done by an incredible artist named Jeff Enriquez. And that mural really asks people to think about the lack of inclusion in traditional European art and what it could have been like had it been more inclusive. And it's also a big tribute to graffiti, which is one of the very few truly American-born art forms that was developed by Black and Puerto Rican kids in the Bronx in the 70s and is now practiced all over the world.
People hate graffiti.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
I mean, I guess
Whenever
there are people.
There have been times where we've had you talking about murals and people complain.
So graffiti is an art form and has many sub-disciplines. So tagging is one of them. Piecing and productions, which people take a lot more time to do, is another kind of sub-genre of graffiti. So it makes people angry because people are putting their mark in places that don't belong to them. It's an art form that is on the books illegal right now in Springfield and in many cities, not just when it's put up without the building owner's permission, but back in the 80s, they passed a ordinance that said anything painted with spray paint, with or without permission, on public or private property is considered graffiti
Wow.
and therefore vandalism. And the code enforcement officer can ask the building owner to take it down. and the building owner has to pay for it.
Wow.
That's draconic.
Yes. So we're working with the city council to change that. But just think about this. This is an illegal art form. There are very few illegal art forms that people take huge risks to practice because it speaks to them, it speaks to their culture, they develop amazing community around it, and most of the time, most graffiti is done in places where it's not going to offend anyone or bother anyone. And people get a lot of joy out of it.
Yeah, I remember, what was it called? 5 Points? There was a place in New
Yes.
York City that there was these old buildings that had no other function other than people would come there and put graffiti up. And it was a monument to art. It was like going to a museum. It was incredible. And I believe those subsequently got torn down, right? But I did get an opportunity to see it before.
Yeah,
It was...
there was a big lawsuit about that. And so it's a whole history that's worth looking into. Many important good things are controversial, and graffiti is not one thing, and the graffiti community is not monolithic.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's lots to say there.
But at the basis of it isn't like kind of the class struggle of art too, that this is an art that is very accessible and yet it is frowned upon in a way that like standard painting or like sculpture are not.
There's a beautiful poem that I love about graffiti, and I don't remember the person who wrote it, but one line in it says, "If the city was a body, graffiti would tell you where it hurts." And graffiti was, came out of the Bronx at a time when the Bronx was really being destroyed by the building of highways and drugs, and just no resources, no support were being brought into that community. And most of the youth who did graffiti did it to stay out of other trouble. And it was their way of being creative and building community with themselves. It's actually quite beautiful to think about that creative urge that people had. I talked to somebody who said he would look out his window and just his entire view was gray. The only color he saw was on the trains going by. And that inspired him to start drawing and start painting. And he is Wayne 1. So he has a couple murals here in Springfield.
That's amazing. And we're talking about murals with Britt Rue from Commonwealth Murals. And nowadays, you've got someone like Banksy, who is internationally known and famous, although we don't know exactly who he is, making high art that's getting sold at auction for millions of dollars from this art form that is still, in some ways, illegal, even in the city of Springfield, where you can go on a double-decker bus tour this Thursday, 2 different rounds, to see these murals celebrating Juneteenth.
When we think about what's illegal and what's legal, we live in a time right now where efforts to promote diversity, equity, inclusion are trying to be made illegal, which would make most of the murals in Springfield illegal. But from our perspective, we're like, wait a minute, we love these and we won't stand for this. So we all draw our lines somewhere about what we're willing to accept and what we're not, and it's worth thinking through. Why do we feel the way we do about this as opposed to something else?
The other thing I love about what Commonwealth Murals does is you do get community input. It isn't necessarily just one artist with one vision on one wall that is given permission by the building owner. You go through sometimes exhaustive community conversations that I witnessed from the sidelines when we had a mural done on the side of the Shea Theater to make sure that the community is involved in this and that it is a reflection of the community where these murals are then put up.
Correct. And, that process is what we love to do. We like to do murals that way. We also love the idea of an artist being able to come in and just throw their beautiful individual artistic expression up on a wall. But there has been a lack of representation in our public spaces of the people who live in those public spaces. And so we are trying to help redress that.
Not only can they put their input in, but they can put their input into work for making those murals actually happen. And on that note, a week after Juneteenth, you're going to have another Paint the Town where the community gets to come and put paint on the walls for a new mural.
Yes, indirectly, because we're painting on the mural canvas.
Right.
But on Thursday, June 26th, from 6 to 9 at White Lion is our annual Paint the Town event. Super fun. DJ, beer, food, painting, amazing people. And we had over 200 people last time. We're hoping for more this year. And it's this opportunity to come together with all of these other people who say, we love art, we love Springfield, we want to contribute. And we're going to be painting a mural that was designed by a Springfield artist named Chris Seabrooks. And the inspiration came from the Indian Orchard Youth Council. And really the theme that came out of our listening session with them is, in Indian Orchard, when we plan to do something, the adults in our community help us make it happen. And I
Nice.
honestly have never heard that in another neighborhood anywhere.
I love it.
And so the mural is just this beautiful mural of these two kind of matriarchal figures literally rising out of the earth, creating a bridge over this river of possibility, and multi-generational people going across the bridge. And so it's super inspiring and will be very fun.
Will it eventually make its home in Indian Orchard?
Yes, it will.
Yes.
I mean, that's wicked cool, but how does it get from White Lion to wherever it's going to live in Indian Orchard after it's been painted?
Good question.
Very
so we paint
carefully.
yes, very carefully, with a lot of work too. So we paint on this mural fabric, the giant paint by numbers, like I mentioned, and then the artist will go in, do all the technical painting, and then we glue it up with this acrylic gel. It's a lot of work. We're just like muscling it into the wall, and then we do more painting. And once it's done, it looks like it was painted there.
We're speaking with Britt Rue of Commonwealth Murals about specifically the Thursday, Juneteenth bus tour of the city of Springfield and the murals. that
And
you
the
can
Paint
see,
the Town's community event that's happening the week
which
after.
is happening next week. But you are going to do a double-decker bus tour. Where in this day and age in this country does one secure a double-decker bus? And is it the Peter Pan bus?
It is the Peter Pan
Whoa!
bus.
The
I
old
know.
antique Peter Pan bus?
Yes,
I love
yes.
that thing. We did a show from there one time.
I love it too. I
did, I
told
was
my kids once, if I win the lottery, I'm going to buy that bus. I was like, I just want to drive it around all the time. But you have to have special training to drive it because like the
Oh, yeah.
steering wheel's on the other
And
side.
there's not a ton of room on that bus. So that RSVP is something you are
Yes,
asking
I'm
people to
glad-
do, even though
yes.
it's free.
It is free. Both events are free. We are asking people to RSVP so we can plan. Also, there's a chance of thunderstorms on Thursday. So if you RSVP, we will let you know if we have to cancel and reschedule. And there are 40 seats on the bus, and actually both tours are getting close to full.
We have been speaking with Britt Rue from Commonwealth Murals, who this Thursday will host a Juneteenth mural bus tour of some of the Black Springfield murals that you can celebrate Juneteenth on a double-decker bus from Peter Pan for free, along with the Commonwealth Murals folks. 2 different occasions to do it, but RSVP. And then if you go, or even if you miss it, go the next week to Paint the Town, 6 p.m. at White Lion, and you can participate in the next big mural that'll make its way to Indian Orchard. You can find out all the details at commonwealthmurals.org. Thank you so much, Britt Rue.
Thank you both. You guys are the best.
Always a pleasure.
And next time you're wheat pasting in Turner's Falls, I will come and help.
I expect you to. If you drive by 2 times and don't stop and say hi, that'll be 2 times too many.
Everybody wants to find graffiti bridge.
I love this song.
It's the worst Prince movie.
It's a great album.
It's a fantastic album.
We'll hear more about bringing the 2 great tastes of chamber music and jazz together, Reese's Like, in a new album from Felipe Sales.
After we take advantage of our brief spurt of sunny days to check out the berry picking at Dickinson Farm in Granby next.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, offering solar options, energy security, and solutions for the local community. Learn more at northeast-solar.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
We are at a beautiful field in Granby for another Local Hero Spotlight with Jennifer Kaur, who I will say throughout 2025 is the new executive director of CISA, but then in 2026, I will stop referring to you as that.
Yeah, we got some time.
And Nate LaFlamme, who is the owner and operator of Dickinson Farm and Greenhouse here in Granby. LaFlamme, it's spelled like LaFlame with 2 M's and an E, but do you know about the drumming technique called a flam?
I don't.
I can't believe in your whole life as a LaFlamme, you don't know about the flam. It's like
Learned
basically...
something new.
I mean, it seems like they're more into farming than percussion.
That's true. But you should know that it's just a little light hit before like the major downbeat of a hit. And they call it a flam.
And that's not the da-dum.
You can use a flam for that if you would like. But you're not growing drums here.
No.
What are you growing here in Granby?
Pretty
Nate?
much anything under the sun. Strawberry season right now. We have pick your own. Following strawberries will be pick your own blueberries. And following that, as the seasons turn, we have pick your own apples.
You are a third generation of a farm family here. Tell us about the history of your family farm.
Yeah, so it was started by my grandfather, Leonard. And back in the 50s, he started off by rototilling gardens for people, him and his rototiller.
It's just like the guy who owns the truck. Like, everybody's got that one friend who's got a tiller, and he's got to make the rounds.
You've got to help everybody move if you've got a truck.
Fewer and fewer of them now, that's for sure.
That's exactly right. That's how he started, was rototilling gardens. He had a truck and a rototiller. And from there, he worked 3 jobs and saved enough money to buy a couple acres in Chicopee. And that's where it all started. From there, I'd say about the 70s, he purchased this farm, which is one of 3 farms. And he cleared out trees in between and made it one big farm.
How big?
It was about 210 acres in its heyday. There's a couple lots that we've sold off over the years. And he kept the name the Dickinson Farm because it was the largest of the 3 farms, and they were the most recognized in town here.
You're not far from Amherst, and the Dickinson name is huge in Amherst. Is it the
Yes.
same Dickinson family as Emily Dickinson?
It is. There's a direct relation to it, and it's kind of funny how I did a little lineage on how the farm became the farm, and it was actually gifted from an English king at one time saying, "Hey, we owe you a debt. Have some land in the New World."
Get out!
Yeah.
Yeah, that part.
Basically, they were giving away what they didn't own.
It's very, very true.
Yeah.
That's very England.
That's how it all started, with the Dickinson family. Yes, and there is a direct relation to Emily Dickinson out of Amherst.
How many acres are left then?
Geez, I haven't thought about it. It's probably 180 now.
It's still a lot of acres.
Especially for New England, like that's a large bit of land.
It's a pretty big farm for Granby.
Tremendous amount of crop diversity visible here. Lots of stuff going on. It takes a lot of labor
And
a
there
lot
used
of
to be
planning.
much more going on. There was a lot of apples at one time, peaches, and actually at one time there was Christmas trees and shrubs. You try things that work and you learn things and things you don't want to do again.
So you were saying before that, and we're seeing tons of people coming in, getting hauled out in a tractor to where the pick your own strawberry fields are right now.
You can see them from the road.
You got picked out last week, had to take the weekend off, right?
Yeah, we were hoping for a little sun. We got it yesterday, which is good, and ripened up enough to the point where we could give people good picking today.
But this is such a big farm that it's not all just pick your own strawberries and blueberries. What else do you got going on, and when it's not a pick your own type season?
Oh, God, we have all kinds of squashes, corn. We'll do probably 60, 70 acres of corn. Everything that we leave out for the Hadley guys. You know, no asparagus, no potatoes.
Let the Polish have what they will have.
Yes, they're good at
You
it.
French Canadians are going to keep
I'm
with
not
everything
lying.
else.
They're good at it. Yeah.
They'd only give you a hard time if you tried to grow asparagus here in Granby anyway.
I'm sure they would.
Talk about the business model, because who are you selling all of this food to?
We have a farm store on 202, but a lot of our products go to Market Basket chain all over New England. I believe they have close to 90 stores now, and we supply a lot of their stuff, flowers and produce.
Oh, so you're growing flowers here too?
Not at this location, but our Chicopee location and our 309 East State Street, Route 202 location. We have a greenhouse there. Yeah,
An acre greenhouse, you were saying.
at least. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Back to the market basket thing, people might remember from a few years ago, there was this big debate about which of these 2 brothers was going to take charge of the market basket empire. There's now a new debate about the family trying to oust the brother that the employees seem to rally behind last time. But you have your own personal story with interacting with Market Basket and the head of the company.
Oh yeah, during that time when things were very rocky with Market Basket, Arthur, his family, I believe, was trying to oust him off the board. During that time, stores, their shelves went bare and employees weren't working, and when it all resolved, Arthur actually contacted the farm and said, "I'm real sorry for what happened," because we grew all kinds of corn for him, and he made square with the situation that he didn't have to. They're a great family-run business.
And that's why you see local product in these stores,
Yeah.
because there is this connection still. It's still intact.
Yeah, they're going to call you and say, "Hey, sorry about the hassle. We're going to make good."
Oh yeah, they didn't have to make one good by us, but they did.
And further why it's important when you see those local products in bigger stores to make sure that you're purchasing them to encourage those stores to keep engaging with local farmers and local producers.
Yeah, it helps support farmers like Nate LaFlamme. from Dickinson Farm and Greenhouse here in Granby, where we're in the midst of pick your own strawberry season. Should we go look at the strawberries? Do we have to wait for the tractor to come back?
No, we can go out there. We can walk if you don't mind, and I'll show you what we're currently picking.
You're still planting strawberries, too.
Yes, next year's crop, and they look beautiful.
I was just going to say, I want to note all of the smiling people. Like, they come back in with their, like, giant baskets of strawberries, just aglow.
Sure, take
because
some
we've been
samples while we're out there.
waiting for a while.
The thing I have to keep remembering about growing strawberries is that it is kind of like asparagus. You got to plant it early and then wait a year.
Yes.
Because your first year, you're going to get, like, nothing.
So the ones that you just planted are planted this year, or they're in the 1-year waiting period?
They were just planted this year about 2 weeks ago, and with all the rain we had, we've really seen them flourish. We're really hoping that next year is going to be a bumper crop.
Tell us how the season has been so far. We're still kind of in the early end of things.
The season has been good for us, and I don't really know why. It's taken a hamper on a lot of people, a lot of other farmers and strawberry fields in the area, but we got lucky on this one. We have a beautiful crop.
So how many employees do you have here at Dickinson Farm? I mean, you've got the community coming to be your employees with Pick Your Own.
Yes.
The community, does that count as employees when you pay to do the work?
But there isn't a lot of Pick Your Own squash or corn going on right now, so I'm assuming you have people helping harvest.
We have about 12 employees right now, full-time.
Are you making hay as well?
Yes. Yeah, we just made hay. We made about 1,000 square bales and about 200 round bales.
And what happens to the hay?
It covers the strawberries, and some of it we sell in the fall for landscapers and lawns.
Is that your house right there?
No, that's my grandfather's house.
Oh, sweet.
He's no longer with us, but we got family members in it.
What is that bird?
A red-winged blackbird?
Yep. I hear a killdeer. They're unmistakable. These are our late-season blueberries here. These will be ready in probably mid to late August.
When do you think the first blueberries will be ready to go?
We should be having them within the next 2 weeks, I'd say.
How many varieties of blueberries do you have planted?
I believe we have about 3.
How about strawberries? How many varieties of strawberries?
We also have 3, and that'll bring us, having the 3 varieties ripen at different times will help us extend the picking season as long as we can. It's a short season. It's maybe 3 weeks tops.
You get several of your plant varieties right here from the valley locally?
Yes, we either get them from Teddy Simorowski or Norse, and this year I believe they came from Norse, and they really look beautiful. On our left here is the field for next year, and we just planted them, and we see a lot of new growth, so we're really optimistic these are going to flourish.
Talk about the planting method. So what we're looking at is like about a 2-foot raised bed with a trench in between them, and then the plants are planted on the higher ground. Talk about that system.
Yeah, it's a raised bed system, a little different than like they do in Florida. They do a really labor-intensive planting over poly, which there's benefits to it, but it's tough to outweigh the risk and the reward here in New England. So we find this is the happy medium.
And it helps with weeds or drainage or both? Or
mainly drainage, and gives them enough moisture where their roots can reach the moisture, but at the same time, as they get bigger and their berries aren't sitting in the water or the low spots.
We're with Nate LaFlamme at Dickinson Farm in Granby, and we were saying that you're a third-generation farmer. We can see your grandfather's old house over there. Was farming something that you knew you always wanted to do? Was there a period of time where you went Rahmspringer and decided to try some other career or something like that?
No, actually, when I was young, farming was not something I was really interested in. It was hard work, and I wanted to be playing with my friends. But as time went on and realized that the simple things in life are quite beautiful, that's where you said, there's nothing better with nature and growing something for somebody. That really put things into perspective.
What percentage do you think of your overall business is the pick your own versus either your farm store or the selling to places like Market Basket?
I would say that the greenhouses are a good 60% of our business. The rest is divided equally between the pick your own, things we pick for Market Basket, and wholesale. Yeah.
And some of the greenhouse things that you do that is not in the traditional growing season that does well are, you were saying, poinsettias?
Yes. We'll grow about 50,000 poinsettias, mainly for Market Basket. Real simple, just red and white ones.
Well, here comes the tractor with a question. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That's...
We love the sound of tractors in the background. It's not special effect.
Yeah.
There goes the family out to the next row of good pickings.
Yeah, if you come and pick strawberries, you get a short wagon ride too. Kids love it.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
What do people need to know about pick your own strawberries so they don't wreck things up and make the most sense of the berries?
Really, there's a lot of berries that are in the plants. You just got to move them around and look for them. A lot of people say the picking's not so good sometimes. You just got to move them around. There's plenty.
What about birds? Some people that have berries have all sorts of manner of ways of trying to keep the birds away. I've been to farms blueberry picking where an air cannon goes off and traumatizes everybody like every 2 to 3 minutes. But
I was curious about this because now we've seen 2 of your blueberry plots and there's no netting, and we saw a bird coming like right through it.
Absolutely. Birds, if anybody tells you any different, really, I'm not sure, but birds are a farmer's worst enemy. They come for the corn and they see the blueberries and they eat them too. What they can do is devastating, but it seems it's odd that year after year is different. Sometimes it'll be really bad, and other years not so much. We're hoping this year isn't as bad as last year. They attacked a whole field of corn.
wow,
Yes.
what type of birds are the worst?
Mainly starlings. Yeah, starlings.
Oh, yeah.
The invasive species
The
that we brought over
bastards.
because of Shakespeare?
Because of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
They're smart though. They'll jump on an ear
That's
of
the
corn.
problem.
I mean, they read Shakespeare. That's everybody smart.
They'll pick the end of the corn right on the tip, pick away until they can't anymore, and run right to the next one and do the same thing over and over and decimate a whole field in no time.
So what are you doing to do it? Or is it just like this is part of the circle of life and you have to deal with it?
Yeah, basically. We are looking into a Dutch company that's actually has lasers that we're reading good things about. I'm going to look more into it, though.
Come out here with a lightsaber and take it all.
That would amp up the kids' fun like pretty fast.
Yeah.
Come see the corn and the light show.
Yeah. Nate's letting us eat some strawberries
So
here.
we're letting these ripen up a little bit, but
they smell
plenty of them already.
Look at that bad Larry.
Oh, yeah, they're beautiful.
That's a huge one. Oh, these are all huge.
Yeah.
How much do you think you lose product-wise to people just snacking while they're picking?
Well, we expect people to try them out. But, I mean, I don't think it's that considerable.
So you heard
see
it from
the
Nate.
children.
Go ahead and eat it while you're picking.
Yeah, some of the kids come back plastered in red. They might have ate more than they picked, but
Well, I mean, I feel like that's the price of kids being usually better at finding the strawberries because they're small and they can see further into the plant. This is why I've stopped buying non-local strawberries because they don't taste like this at all. Like
No.
this is what strawberries are supposed to taste like, not that weird bland nonsense that looks like a strawberry, is mostly green, probably ripened in a greenhouse somewhere, and then shipped to you. Like this is what it's supposed to taste
And
like.
isn't it more fun when you like have to wait for the strawberries and you be like, it's strawberry season, we're gonna go crazy. I'm gonna come plastered in red and eat 10 buckets of strawberries myself.
Yeah, and if you're nostalgic for the taste, freeze them.
it has spoiled me as a farmer. You go into the big box stores, you'll see beautiful strawberries, but they're flavorless. Man, having a real fresh local strawberry it's excellent.
I'm surprised at how sweet they are, given how much water we've had. It's
really.
And how big they were. Sometimes the big ones aren't that sweet, but these,
like
I better check again.
Going back. My very first job ever, 12 years old, picking strawberries all summer with my brother. No, but they were not this big, and that would have like changed things dramatically because you got paid by the volume.
Oh.
So,
These are the size of a ping pong ball
Yeah.
for size reference for anyone listening.
and a party in your mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, I can definitely say experiment number 2,
Yeah.
also just as sweet.
I don't know exactly what we did right this year. A lot of farms they're suffering the weather, but we have a great crop.
Don't question the magic or it goes away.
Yeah.
Clearly, I mean, you're on a little slope here. Like this land we're standing on, these rows are dry. Like
Yeah.
that's a feat.
I think part of the magic is strawberries are heavy feeders. They deplete the soil pretty quickly, so this is a first year for this field.
And then do you let the different fields rest too, or how does it work?
We rotate. We'll have corn here next year,
Yeah.
and we'll enhance the soil with some Sudan grass, plow that under.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your greenhouse production? That's an environment you're controlling everything about it.
Yes, and I feel that I don't want to be a downer, and I feel farming's been tougher year after year with the weather cycles, and so we've focused more into what we're really good at and what we can predict the weather in the greenhouses. We've done really well with our annuals, perennials, and our hanging baskets. The only real variables in the greenhouse is, oil prices for pots are all plastic. They're all petroleum based. Soil prices, most of that mix comes from Canada. So you got your ups and downs and your unknowns, but they're a little more controlled in the greenhouse.
an operation like this where you have so many enterprises going on, it gives you a little bit of a buffer. If one's doing well and another one you're losing a little bit of money over time, that's all working.
Absolutely, and I think that came from my grandfather. That was his philosophy, is don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Don't put all your strawberries in one basket.
Yeah, it's good to use farming analogies like that.
Sure.
I was going to say like it's a diversified Farmo 1K.
It's so like on display visibly here. You can see all of the different crops. Pretty beautiful.
Here comes your tractor driver taking another family to go picking.
Everyone is so happy. You have to be happy with strawberries.
I know, and I can't believe that you would look at this glorious, like, little red sweetness peeking out of all of these plants and not say it's a beautiful sight. When is the farm open for pickings?
So we're open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. If things get picked out or the weather's not cooperating, please check our Facebook. We'll do daily updates.
And then we'll teach you how to do a La Flamme. You can go look up a YouTube video while you're there. After all that hard work, we got to take the tractor back.
We did see it go back and forth a couple of times. It just looks so fun.
Is it fun driving people in and out of the field all day? What's your name?
Mike.
You do this day in and day out, driving people?
Well, during the season, yes.
Is it fun?
On hot days, it's not so fun. But on days like today, it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Here we go.
Thank you. I mean, who wouldn't have fun riding this?
Right?
Thanks so much to Nate LaFlamme from Dickinson Farm for tailing us around.
And now to explore shifting landscapes, memories, and perspective with composer, professor, and multi-instrumentalist Felipe Sales as we dive into the sounds of his latest album, Camera Obscura.
You're listening to The Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Eastworks, 4 floors of makers, artists, and entrepreneurs located in the Mill District in East Hampton, where community happens. Learn more at eastworks.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. Ages before we could view blockbuster movies on demand via pocket-scale smartphones or wall-covering high-definition televisions, the Camera Obscura provided humanity with its first primitive method for transmitting images of reality onto a screen. A natural rather than a technological phenomenon, the Camera Obscura required nothing more than a pinprick hole allowing light into a dark chamber. The literal translation, Camera Obscura, from the Latin name.
And you can still make them today. It's very simple and really cool.
Oh,
that you do it.
You can go visit one at Warner Farm, Mike's Maze in Sunderland.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you've never, it is incredible. It looks crazy because it's a color image in this dark room. Anyway, continue introducing our guest.
But on his new album, Camera Obscura, the saxophonist and composer Felipe Sales takes that concept as the guiding principle for an ambitious project that melds jazz and chamber music. And here to talk with us about that new album is Felipe Sales. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome back to the show. The album is really cool.
It was
Thank you.
so different from the last album that we talked to you about, and I'm really curious. I'm
is.
excited to get into it.
And the part that feels different to me, and the not lost on me, that talking about images and Camera Obscura and all that, it sounds like it could be movie soundtracks and scores to movies, but it's jazz and with a little chamber orchestra.
Yes.
Led by your wife, I guess, right?
Yes, I mean,
Familiar relationships can lead to the best music.
Sometimes better scheduling.
Yeah.
I don't know about the scheduling, but we definitely have a very interesting scheduling. And now that the kids are a little older, it's a lot easier to schedule. But yeah, no, I mean, this is a project I've been wanting to make for many, many years. And I've always loved this idea of mixing chamber music and jazz. I write classical music as well. I've written over the years a lot of crossover stuff. Actually, my doctoral degree my thesis was like a concerto for studio orchestra, and so it was like a combination of all those things. But I also have, I have a background, like as a kid, I thought I was going to go into the movies thing, It was like I was that kid at 11 or 12, bought a Super 8 camera, and then later on I had a VCR camera and all that stuff. But I was like into making movies and editing movies like in the analog way, cutting stuff. That's scary because if you make you make a mistake, you're done. What we're talking about is really interesting because part of the idea of the album is I'm very drawn to image. So I've always written with like I like to write a tune that has sort of like a background story or an image or something that puts my ears to work in almost like movie-like way. You know, the perspective of a camera obscura as being something that is the first time you actually reproduce an image from the outside, but it comes in already distorted, already upside down and things like that. So the idea of having all these different ways of explaining and interpreting perspective and light and dark and all those things. So that's what the album came from. The idea of the album came from. Each tune is sort of like a different way of thinking about perspective, or thinking about shadows and light, or thinking about memory as a way of being a form of perspective, or like the loss of memory in some of the tunes. I mean, sometimes you remember things in a certain way. You know, there's stories out there like where an entire family describes an event and puts a person in there, and then you go check the dates, and the person has never been there because it wasn't even born, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's a distortion of perspective that happens with memory. So all of those things, and also like there's a tune that I wrote for Plato, but like I was very influenced by The Cave when I was a teenager. I read that in philosophy class, and I was blown away by the whole thing, you know. The Cave is actually the first camera obscura. Is like a distorted image that is being projected inside of a cave from something that is happening outside, is coming from this little opening. And so there's a whole connection between philosophy and perspective. And Plato talks about music as being one of the elevated ways of knowledge that you actually, you know, I'm not trying to toot my horn as being a musician, but, you know, it's always
and
been...
a doctor and a Guggenheim fellow and so many other things.
I mean,
so
yes.
toot away, my friend.
But you know, it's like I remember being a teenager and like falling in love with music, and I was really into math too. And then here comes
Music
this guy
is math.
Plato, and he's like, yeah, you know, math and philosophy and music. Those are the three like most I was like, I'm in your team because I love all three, you know.
I would say that they kind of combine in music. There are different philosophies for the approach, and it's all math.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like the beauty of getting to a point where you're dealing with things that are so, like there's nothing in the way palpable in what you do. You know, it's so out there, you know, like one of the things that I compare to is like playing chess with no board. When you're able to get to a point where you're hearing things or thinking of things, and there's absolutely no, you know, there's no physical element to it. I dedicated my life to that stuff, I guess. I think it's pretty cool.
More coming up with Felipe Sales as we get into the technicalities and process of creating his latest work, Camera Obscura, and find out where you can see it performed live right here in Western Mass.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. We are speaking with Felipe Sales, who has a new album out called Camera Obscura that is with your jazz quartet, and a new chamber quartet, the Cushman Quartet, playing along with this and interpreting all of these high concept philosophies into solely music, which I'm imagining, you know, for people who don't do music, they'd be like, okay, if you write lyrics to a song, I can directly translate what I'm thinking about into words. How do you directly translate your feelings into what emotionally?
Well, I try not to think of it in a technical way, but, you know, like, for example, with Camera Obscura, which is the first piece, I try to imagine this element of like one little ray of light coming inside of this box and trying to like develop this image. So the idea is to try to figure out a way, an oral way to represent that. So, for example, in that tune, it starts with this one note, this very interesting technique on the violin, which is like a harmonic. So it sustains the harmonic, and then the piano comes in and plays a chord underneath it. And so you can hear the building of this image that slowly becomes a groove and slowly becomes a melody. I'm not thinking, you know, technically, but I'm thinking, how do I imagine this translated to music, with this image that I'm trying to describe, you know? So a lot of the pieces are like that. There's the piece that closes the record is about a train that I used to love riding as a kid. My mom, sometimes she would take us, I mean, we had family in Rio, so A lot of the times we would go by plane, but once in a while we do this adventure where we go to this beautiful train station in the center of São Paulo. We take the train overnight, and then we'll go to the restaurant car. And it was like beautiful. It was like old school, like linen. And so to us as kids, it was like this adventure. It was this amazing, like I love the feeling of that, like laying down and opening the window and seeing all that stuff pass by, all this interesting stuff. In the middle of the night, I wanted to take my kids on that train ride, and I found out the train doesn't exist anymore. I was sad, like my kids never going to have that experience. When I was writing this record, I wanted to imagine this last trip of this train. So the tune starts with all these weird sounds that sound like the train is kind of like sort of like all the rusty parts are coming back to life and stuff, and then the train starts moving, and there's all these stops in the stations and things like that. So the idea is really like thinking about a story, thinking about, a little movie in my head, and then writing music to it. But I also feel like more and more when you talk to people at the concert, you tell them what the story is, and then you get them to listen to the music. It's a whole other experience for them because they are able to feel part of it,
Going back to the first song on this album, Camera Obscura, which I think it starts kind of in darkness and then lightens up quite a bit towards the end. And then as we get further on, we see more and more of a mix of that light and dark, including, I think, your pairings of having a lot of violin lead, like melody lines for your more chamber pieces, and a lot of flute lead lines for some of the more jazz-y pieces. Can you talk about lining those two instruments up for this album?
It's a combination of a lot of things, because also I played a lot of woodwinds in this.
Oh yeah, a lot. It's so cool.
Yeah, so there's like a woodwind sextet. We are actually doing this live on August 9, and there will be like a woodwind sextet
at
live.
Bombyx, Florence.
Yes. And the string quartet. So there will be 14 people on stage.
Nice.
It will be like the actual live version of this chamber orchestra, jazz chamber orchestra.
A walk in the park compared to the 18 people you had to gather for your last album.
Yeah, I guess I saved some money, right? But it's a different project, and I think what is interesting about this project is you have the dialogue between the string quartet and the jazz quartet, but the woodwinds are also like supporting a lot of the callers underneath.
Did you hear from your wife, since they're a new ensemble, about how working on this new piece helped their growth?
I think it's interesting because there's always people who are a little bit more connected to jazz and people who are a little less, and I mean, we've been together for 25 years, and she basically credits me for ruining her love for certain classical things. And now she things are too, nah. But she's fearless, and, she always plays my music great. But now then she's bringing in people who don't necessarily have that jazz experience. So it was really important that she was there to kind of sort of guide that process. And of course, I tried my best not to torture them too much. At the end, music is music. Like Ellington used to say, there's only two types. There's good and bad, So you do it well. It doesn't matter what the style is. And there's so many interesting things that you can do, combining styles. And that's what I love to do. I've always loved to do that.
Because it's so cool, we're going to encourage people to go out and see it in person. And you have two opportunities. Two?
Yes.
Two opportunities to see it live.
The live thing with everyone on stage is going to be at Bombyx on August 9th. It's part of this great festival called Etchins. I've been doing some concerts just as a quartet. There's a version of this that works as a quartet version. And we actually... The release of the record came out on June 6th, and we were actually in Ecuador, in Quito. We played at this gorgeous, gorgeous place called Casa de la Música, an incredible piano, incredible concert hall, and it was beautiful to do that. And then this Saturday, we're playing in West Stockbridge Historical Society. We're playing a concert there on Saturday, June 21st at 7 p.m. So you can catch us there as a quartet, and then you can definitely catch us at Bombyx as a full ensemble on August 9th.
The album is fantastic. It's
you.
a wonderful listen. It is available now. It is called Camera Obscura. It is a little bit of jazz, a little bit of chamber orchestra, all mashed together into these symphonic landscapes and soundtracks to the movies in Felipe Sales's mind. And you can see him in Stockbridge this Saturday, and with the whole ensemble at Bombyx in Florence at the Etchings Festival, August 7th through 9th in Florence.
Yes, we'll be there on August 9th.
Closing.
The closer.
Yeah. There we go.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. It's great to talk to you guys.
Oh, it was a beautiful listen. You can find tickets and information for the stripped-down quartet version of Felipe Sales's latest work, Camera Obscura, by going to weststockbridgehistory.org. They have a full jazz series that you might want to be checking out because it's wicked cool.
And tickets for the festival with the full ensemble at bombyx.live. Next time Felipe Sales is on, we're going to talk about him making his homemade gefilte fish.
Yes, for sure, because I have questions and curiosities, and I need to taste it.
Yeah, me too.
The stuff in the jar is a little scary.
On the next Fabulous 413, grab your paddles and your pride flags because we're bringing equality to the river.
With a Pride Month event hosted at Zora Outdoors, and we'll tell you how you too can go do fun queer supporting stuff in the water with Jason Costa.
And we will be in the water tomorrow too, so we'll see how that goes. Speaking of, we'll hear about Pride events in Holyoke this weekend at Fame with David Blood and Alex Torres.
And word nerd Emily Brewster multiplies our understanding of pluralization.
Especially where the octopus is concerned, and maybe with some other animals as well.
Because they all do weird things in language, it turns out. Except for deer.
We have a hard time pluralizing our English animals.
Deer and sheep who don't change.
We leave you with Felipe Sales's latest album, Camera Obscura. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalees Smith. See you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.